It's 2025. All right. Welcome to Investment Banking Insights. This is the only show dedicated to helping you learn both the technical and non-technical aspects of the investment banking process. Hi, my name is Alex Mason and I am your host, the second semester MBA student here at Cornell Johnson School of Business, and just really excited to kick off this final semester of school and enjoy it the most I can, and then move on to the next chapter, being an investment banker full time, moving across the country with my family, all that good stuff. But I wanted to talk to you today about 2024. What happened in 2024 in the world of investment banking? There's a lot we could talk about, but I'm going to talk about big picture highlights so that going into this year, things that you might want to talk about in interviews, things that you should know going into this recruiting season. So let's go ahead and talk about some things that happened in 2024. So first of all, things were generally good in terms of investment banking, in terms of M&A activity. So mergers and acquisitions, this is, of course, the major area of what investment bankers actually do. And so transaction dollars were up 15% globally compared to 2023, which was good because 2023 was a pretty rough year in terms of investment banking, in terms of number of deals, the size of deals, and then, of course, the fees that investment banks generated from those deals. So increase of 15%, pretty good. In terms of the United States, it was a 14% increase over 2023. So pretty good, pretty much in line with the global trend. One thing to note is that in terms of proportion of the global market, the United States has around 50%. It's not quite 50%, but around 50% of the total global M&A market flows through the US. And then the fastest growing market was actually Canada, with over 50% growth in terms of M&A dollar increases. And so that was a bright spot for them. And then the Canadian market, for context, is somewhere around 1/10 the size of the US M&A market. So it's not just about mergers and acquisitions though. Investment banking comprises a large number of activities, and we can also talk about capital markets. So let's look at the equity capital markets. Equity capital markets, I used to think that this was just initial public offerings, IPOs, and then that was it, where companies sell shares of stock to the public. And of course, investment bankers are critical to making that happen. But it's actually more than that. There's follow-on offerings, there's convertible securities, but packaged together, this is equity capital markets, or ECM. And in 2024, there was an increase in that activity globally as well. Globally, equity capital markets was up 21%, and in the United States, it was up over 70%, which is about 40% of the total market is in the US. Now, in the United States, it was actually not so much IPOs that were big in 2024, it was follow-on offerings. For example, one of the biggest deals of the year was Boeing Company actually issuing follow-on securities for over $18 billion. And Boeing was going through some financial troubles, and actually we talked about that in an episode a few weeks back where we talked about Boeing purchasing Spirit AeroSystems. So check that episode out if you are interested in a deal pitch there. But yeah, Boeing had to issue stock in order to help keep it alive because it's just a really capital intensive business. And I know because I used to be a Boeing engineer. So yeah, so that was one of the big deals of the year. Another big deal of the year on the global stage was Saudi Aramco, which is the oil and gas giant of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, issued some follow-on shares in their market. And so that deal was worth well over $12 billion. And it's, I think, the fourth largest company in the entire world. And so they're basically like raising money from the global capital markets. So that was also a big deal that happened in terms of equity capital markets in 2024. Next, we have debt capital markets. So remember, it's not just about companies raising money via stock, they're also raising money via debt. And this is a really big part of the markets, and investment bankers are very much a part of helping companies raise debt. So in 2024, globally, debt capital markets activity increased 36%. In the United States, it was up 45%, so really big increase. And honestly, not too surprising given what the Federal Reserve did in terms of interest rates here in the US this past year. So in September, the Federal Reserve cut the target federal funds rate, and there's actually a range, it's not a specific rate, but they cut it down 50 basis points in September, and then they cut it another 25 basis points in November. And this was like the biggest news in the markets in those months last year because everyone was thinking, okay, now debt is going to be cheaper. Is this going to change the deal activity? And so now let's talk about what my thoughts are for the world of investment banking here in 2025. I think things are going to be better this year. 2023 was a really rough year for investment banking revenue and M&A in particular. And then we saw now in 2024 that things have gotten better. I think that trend is going to continue to get better. Investment banking revenue in the United States was up 37% year over year, and global investment banking revenue was up 27% year over year. So we're seeing these fees increase, correlating with the actual deal like volume and prices. So that's something that's encouraging for us as investment bankers, future investment bankers listening to this, is that the industry is coming back. And so we're seeing that, I think, because the cost of debt is going down, at least in the United States, that's a signal that, hey, people believe the US economy is still relatively strong. So cost of debt goes down, and once the cost of debt goes down, companies say, okay, now might be a good time to refinance that debt. Cue investment banker advisory services, or now might be a great time to go acquire that company because we can borrow the funds at a cheaper rate. Cue investment banker advisory services, or maybe now there's more confidence in the markets, we can now go public. Cue investment banker advisory services. So I think that firms are gonna continue to be cautiously optimistic and keep making steps toward doing more deals. It'll be interesting to see what the big deals in the market are this year, but I'm not gonna expect like some huge shoot the lights out growth in 2025. I do think that there is still some caution in the capital markets just based on what we're seeing so far. So yeah, we'll see, but those are some statistics regarding what was going on in 2024 in terms of fees and transaction amounts and what I think is going to go on in 2025. So if you're preparing for your investment banking conversations, for your interviews, these are just some good things to know for a context of what's going on in the broader world of investment banking. So that's what I got for you today. It's really good to be back in the studio. It's just great. I've been traveling for weeks, just seeing a lot of loved ones, family, friends, you name it. And yeah, now I'm back. And so I'm excited to deliver a lot of amazing episodes to you this year. If you have a suggestion for something that you want to see, please drop it in the comments on YouTube, drop it in the comments on Spotify, and I would love to hear your thoughts as continue making things this year. I have a ton of ideas already for things that are already in the works or things that I want to work on for this show. So I'd love to hear your input. But yep, I'll see you next time. Take care.